Boop. And we're there. And I see Connie sitting outside with a blue sky behind her. We're not jealous, but just a little bit. Seeing people are still joining, so that's okay. So slowly I will start actually, because people who just like me love to be on time and in time have something like, hey, come on, start. Well, in the meantime, I just click for people still to admit, so that will come in. So we're going to talk today about the neuroscience of your three brains: your head, your heart, and your gut. And I'm really enthusiastic about it, to talk about it, because when you know this, in my opinion, life will never be the same. And a lot of things you will start looking different at. So just a little bit of intro. Who am I? So who's going to talk to you? Christoffel MCC coach according to ICF. Clinical supervisor and mentor, also for ICF and for therapy things. An executive coach, MCC, as I said. Clinical psychotherapist, hypnotherapist. Visiting professor at the business school here in Madrid. And now 30 years and counting experience in coaching, training, and therapy. And something like 12,000 people I've seen, say, in small groups or individual. So not counting these webinars, but really when I see people, say, in a small setting where we really do something more special for the personal development. And I'm the founder of the Three Brains Intelligence and the Three Brains Coach Certification Training. And so everything that is presented here is almost coming out of my pen. In the last 8 years, I would say I've been busy in exploring it more from how can it affect our life and what can we do with it. And coming from the therapy and coaching world, from why do we get stuck? And I'm also the author of 2 books now: Relationships, Which Brain is Talking, and How Men and Women Fit, Finally Understand Your Partner with the Three Brains Theory. Especially the first one, Relationships, Which Brain is Talking, I'm rather proud of, because it gives you really an insight about the three brains, and how it actually connects with every relationship in our life. And the question, which brain is talking, is actually almost a synonym for my coaching, my therapy, and my trainings. And the moment you know which brain is talking, you can really do amazing things. So what is the intention of today for me and your takeaways? And what's the importance of three brains intelligence, the essentials of the science and theory, and what's the impact of coaching? And we do that really small, the impact of coaching, because in the order one, the 5 top essentials of three brains coaching, I go much more in the coaching aspect. Here we stay much more in the aspect of the science and the theory. And the gift of the end of the webinar, actually that's an extra discount for if you like to follow the training and really learn, just like 230 other coaches around the world in 33 countries, learn really to coach and train people like this. So let's go back. When we talk about three brains and about science, and this is really a beautiful closed tag question, as to say, you all know it, is it not? Because have you ever heard in your life the sentence, just follow your heart, or just trust your gut feeling? Did anybody ever say that to you? Or maybe did you say it to somebody else in the past? Why is that? Why do we say that actually? Why don't we just say, if, in my words, the old neuroscience always says the head is the most important thing, why don't we just say then, just follow your head, follow your logic? Why do we say actually follow your heart or trust your gut feeling? I saw an interview with Jeff Bezos. I think we all know the guy, the owner of now with Amazon. In this interview, he said, I always follow my gut feeling. He doesn't say I always follow my logic, he follows his gut feeling. So what is that actually? Or maybe you made a decision and you said later, oh, I should have followed my logic, heart, or gut feeling. And then you have that regret feeling because you did not listen to a voice inside yourself. That's interesting. So, and who of you knows, or maybe had it by themselves, issues with procrastination, eating unhealthy? I just was reading today an article about, say, processed foods again, and why it's actually unhealthy. I think, oh, wow, it makes it really hard to eat something healthy. Setting boundaries or saying no. Communication, hard decisions, bad news talks with employees or colleagues or clients. You had issues with it. Maybe the depression or anxieties. Who does not know anybody who had this? Yeah, and becomes now silent because we all know somebody who had this somewhere or by ourselves. So then, who's inside you making these quote, quote, bad decisions? And because we all know logically it doesn't make sense to wait to the last moment. We all know logically it doesn't make sense to eat, say, highly processed foods. We all know it doesn't make sense not to set your own boundaries and say yes to everything. We all know that sometimes you have to communicate a hard decision. And we all know that it does not make sense to dwell on the past and get depressed or get nervous about things, what happens tomorrow, is going to happen tomorrow or next week, but we cannot influence. So we know it all. So who's then in charge? Now, that question, I could say, was leading me so many years when I was working with clients, and you could call them patients, in my clinical therapy or in my coaching therapy. Who's actually in charge? And I call it old neuroscience. Of course, it's not old because it's still new. What I mean is old. The current neuroscience almost focus on our amazing head brain. I call it head brain, and it does not mean our head is not important. Because if you look at it, it has an amazing capacity to do so. If you look at, say, the simple map of our brain, and not then say in the cerebrum, limbic area and the neocortex, but you look, say, at overview, all the things that somewhere have to connect with sensations to come outside are somewhere there, and also from inside. Smell, speech, motor control, our own body, touch and pressure, taste, language, reading, vision, facial awareness, recognition, all the senses that actually are coming from what's connected with our head, our tongue, our eyes, our ears, our nose, are somewhere connected with that beautiful thing inside us, in our head. So it's not important that we have it there. But it's rather interesting to become aware who's actually in charge. And when we think about your depression, your procrastination, all kind of other stuff. Because you have a concentration, planning, and problem solving, you would assume that this one then solves all the issues we saw before. From procrastination, depression, anxiety, eating healthy, saying no, because you plan it, you concentrate on it, you solve the problem. Done. So why is a frontal lobe not doing that? Or maybe cannot do that. So let's dive first, say, in our beautiful head. So at least we're on the same page and don't dismiss it right away, because it is freaking amazing what it can do. It takes 20% of your body oxygen, 20% of your daily calories. As a joke, if you ever like to really lose weight, become a professional chess player. It's recognized that, say, in real high competition of chess playing, you can burn up to 6,000 calories a day. That's the same as an average bike ride of the Tour de France or the Giro, what's now happening in Italy for the Italian people. So instead of biking 200 kilometers, you can just do a 6-hour chess game. So much is your head using in energy. Of course, you don't build muscles except in your beautiful head. Glucose is the primary source that happened here. That's why we love sugar. Because your head works on glucose, sugar. It has 100,000 million neurons. A neuron is a brain cell. Just imagine 100,000 million. That's something like the stars in the Milky Way. It's amazing what it has there. And every neuron or brain cell has between 5,000 and 10,000 connections. That means 500 trillion connections. It's amazing what it can do. And so if you're ever afraid of artificial intelligence and it will replace us, your head can still do much more. And your brain, and there comes partly already the answer why it's not totally in charge. It really gathers information and understands, or does its best to understand, the world around us and inside us based on the information. Our body sends 11 million signals a second upstairs to your head to process about your digestion, about how you feel, how you sit, how you whatever does. And if you ever scratch your nose, actually it's because your body gives a signal upstairs, hey, move your hand, because I'm itchy there. Your eyes, 10 million signals. Your skin, 1 million signals. Your ears, 100,000 signals. Your smell, 100,000 signals. Your taste, 1,000 signals. Even if you're not eating, you get those signals. So that's what your head is doing, getting a massive amount of signals and making sense of it. And let's now go why your head is actually not in charge. So a question to you can put it in the chat. If you don't like to speak up, that's totally okay. So I open also my chat so I can see it. So what's your first memory you have in your life? What's your age? So what is the age of your first memory you have in your life? And I see Michelle really thinking from Andrea Madi thinking from, what is my first memory? Wow. And I guess almost nobody gets before the age of 3, unless if it's really highly impactful traumatic. Most people will not get before 3 years old. 3 or 4 is for most people, for 95%, the first answer. For some people, even 5 or 6, Michelle. Yes, I have the same somewhere. And the second question is, what's the average age we learn actually what is time? Next week and last week. That's somewhere the same age that we lose somewhere our belief in Santa Claus, the tooth fairy, and all this kind of stuff. I see Michelle thinking again, moving her fingers. Somewhere the same age, by the way, as you entered already, Michelle. We learn it on the age of 6 or 7 somewhere. Girls a little bit sooner, sometimes 5. Boys, 6 or 7. Okay, so our first memory we remember is age 3. For Michelle, 5 or 6. We learn actually next week and last week when we are 5, 6, 7 years old. So now I'm going to ask you a horrible question, and the answer is no, by the way. But just to provoke you already. So if we don't have any memory before the age of 3, is it then allowed to abuse our babies and kids? To slap them, not give them food, put them outside in the cold, give them cold showers, and all kind of stuff? Because they don't remember. I said the answer is no. Don't start saying, oh, Chris, I agree with you in this moment. That's not what I like to hear. So do we all agree that we don't abuse kids before the age of 3? Thank you so much. So, but René, if they cannot remember, what's then the issue?
Yeah, so I think maybe that's not the only thing.
No, you're so right. And Karen already said, Karen de Jager, even if they don't remember, we remember. Yes, and that's when you read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, or they follow the work from Peter Levine, or even Bruce Lipton, you come aware the body remembers. Everybody knows something from fascia. So the fascia is actually the skin tissues in between all your muscles and all your things. And that stores partly memories, or actually the texture of the fascia changes based on trauma, because a neurotransmitter P is released in between the fascia and actually change the structure of the fascia, waardoor you actually could say create a sore spot. Push on that sore spot and something happens. And yes, if you have a question in between, I didn't say it, Michelle, please ask right away, because I can talk about this for 5 days. And that's not my intention. It is that you learn something. So Michelle, what's your answer? What's your question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have kids yet, at least. I don't know. But
you know if you have kids, eh? We boys don't always remember if we have kids.
But I'm passionate about that. I've discovered about my attachment style, and I thought it was all from adolescence. I don't know. My mom was a very warm person, but my parents are separated. My father left home at a certain age, and I used to see him every week, but still physically, I developed a certain relationship dynamics, fear of abandonment, etc.
Yeah.
I think something from listening to Gabor Mate and trauma healing, etc. The way you hold a baby, the way you let them cry, because this new studies say you need to let them cry, etc. So I think this is where trauma is stored, or you develop a way of reacting. Your nervous system is not calm. You don't feel safe around certain noises, etc.
It is beautifully said. And Gabor Mate was the person I did not mention. But if you follow Gabor Mate, When the Body Says No, a book of 30 years ago already, or now the wisdom of the movie, the wisdom of, now lost the name right away. You will see a synopsis, or his last book. It's almost like an urology of all his wisdom. He says the same. We can store childhood trauma in our body and say a divorce of your parents is a trauma, and we can just say it like that. Or is it traumatic? Now let's rephrase. It's a traumatic event, and we could become traumatized by it. At least we get influenced by it. Not everybody gets traumatized, but everybody gets influenced. This is how we deal with the family situation. Then yes, and if you learned family constellations, you know that has a massive impact.
I didn't yet.
Okay.
But I mean, my parents got separated. I was 12 years old. But I believe that, but this created a trauma while I was less than 6 years old. I'm not traumatized anymore, but I mean, I had a certain way of reacting, and my nervous, I was insecure. But I think from 0 to 3 is, I mean, you know better than me, the environment in which a child is born. If they're born in a war and they hear huge noises, or if they're not being taken care of or held in a certain way, or I don't know, like their needs being responded in a certain way, they will be creating a way of...
You're totally right. And if we go to the heart and gut brain, we get partly the answer. What I was looking for, say, now up to 8 years ago, what's happening. I said, but I'm just provoking everybody. We have a memory. Even though we don't remember here, we have a memory. And that's why they're interesting. If you look, say, at all the coaching programs at the average school, the average MBA, or you go to psychology, we all focus on the thing above our throat. And the body is mostly dismissed or not taken care of in the whole process. That's why they're interesting. I will say it later, but as being a therapist, I love sometimes to be in Dutch. I love sometimes to kick some things around. So excuse me for that. But that's also more that we don't forget. So the first 2 years and the first 7 years, to come back to you, Michelle, and if you follow Bruce Lipton, then he will say it many times. The Jesuit, the group of religious, will say, give me a boy of 7 years old, and I'll tell you what kind of man it will become. Give me a boy of 0 years old till the age of 7, and I create the man you like to have. Later in psychology, they call it the imprint period, the first 7 years of our life. It goes a little bit too deep for this webinar, because I say my training is 4 days. But say if you look at brain waves, so how this one does the brain waves, you will see that we go from a first year state of deep delta wave states. That's actually a deep hypnotic state. Till the year 13, we go to a beta state where we can operate our whole brain corporately. And actually, you could say it popular up to the year 7, or until we learn last week, next week, we live somewhere in a hypnotic state where the critical mind is not there. Because for cause and effect analysis, you need to have cause and effect. So you have to be able to determine time in between the cause and effect. And up to year 6 or 7, we don't have that concept. So everything that happens is constructed in the now. Hence, say, Michelle, when you say at 6 years old, you start to change that part, makes totally sense, because in the family dynamics change, you start working on it, but not taking it as a cause and effect analysis, but seeing it as it is now happening, so I learn it now. And so, and just for you who like also have an answer why your beautiful head doesn't remember, up to 18 months after conception, so it's 9 months after you deliver your baby, every hour, the little baby creates 250 million new brain connections. And after year 3, they're pruned away partly to make this one more effective and more efficient. So based on actually our brain development, really our head brain development, we cannot store memories in our head because all new connections are made or are pruned away. Only say severe, highly impactful events, an accident, a really happy event, sometimes are still stored or we can retrieve it partly. Partly, yeah? Not everything. So how does it work? Because who's in charge of our behaviors, habits, and our emotions then? Why does the Jesuit said, the first 7 years, I can mold every person in what you like them to be? Let's first go back to 4 myths about how we function, also based partly on our head. The first was the amygdala. And excuse my pronunciation, is really the Dutch pronunciation of it. And that little thing in our limbic brain. Current popular science or popular gurus say you can have an amygdala hijack. The fear component or anger component hijacks your amygdala. Totally rubbish. Research shows your amygdala is responsible for many emotions and cannot be single tracked down. Whole story about. By the way, I will send if you want it, I can send you the slides pack later on as a PDF if you're interested. This is popular old science, and your brain lights up if it starts working. Also totally crap. If a cell in your body is not active, it's dead and will get replaced. Every cell in your head is always active. Every cell in your body is always active. If not, it's seen as dead and will be replaced. The third one, cortisol causes stress. And I hear that so many times. You know, Chris, my cortisol is up, I have stress. Cortisol is actually an energy provider in your body. If you wake up and put your feet outside your bed, you have a huge spike of cortisol because you need energy. Yes, that energy is also needed when you have stress, but it doesn't cause stress. And last one, and that's more because I heard already Michelle say our autonomic nerve system or your nerve system. And I don't know if it's in the slides, but otherwise I will come back to that. If people know the ventral vagal nerve system or from Stephen Porch, I'm going to disappoint you. That's scientifically crap. Scientifically, his whole research is actually debunked. Because even in a snake, the same system is found as he described, that's only for mammals. So if a snake and a fish actually have the same system, it cannot be solitary for mammals, so it cannot be the social nerve. Yes, we have the cranial 10. That's here. Yes, it's also called the ventral vagal nerve, but no, it's not a social nerve. Yes, it connects with your lung, your heart, and your abdomen or your viscera, but it does not mean it's your social nerve. And especially not as he describes that there's a combination of 5 cranial nerves being your social center. They don't work together like that. Why do I say that? Because there's also a huge, say, misunderstanding what nerves are. So I'll put this black. So just for you to make you aware, what is a nerve? Is a nerve an independent cell? Let's call it differently. Yes or no? Is a nerve an independent cell? I see Renee and Connie moving their head like this, so I assume that's a no based on non-verbal communication. That's good interpretation. You're right. You know what a nerve is? A nerve is the axon of a neuron, so it means where it sends away the signals. Or there's a dendritus where it receives the signals. So actually your autonomic nerve system is a combination of dendrituses and axons in a big wired connection. So your nerve system, although it exists, is actually your brain and a communication pathway of your brains, multiple, 3 of them. So an independent nerve system does not exist. Your nerve system is not in charge of anything because they're actually sending axons or receiving. Yes, your brain cells or neurons are actually then in charge. Hence, head, heart, gut. Just to make you aware of that. So let's.
Thank you.
Do I get it? Ah, there you are back again. Now, this is source from Lisa Barrett-Feldman.
Can we mute? There's
Torsten
someone
Liem,
who's
Wilbert
unmuted.
Neuberger. The German names
who-
are actually for the polyvagal theory. The other ones is for the other 3. And Lisa Barrett-Feldman wrote some books, 7.5 Rules of the Brain and how emotions are created. And she's a neuroscientist. Torsten Liem and Wilbert Neuberger zijn actually real neuroscientists from German universities who really cut open people and look at horrible things and fish and actually debunked the whole polyvagal theory system based on physics. So now I'm going to a little bit kick our own ass and also mine. And for the whole you cannot stay for the whole meeting, Johanna. Now the recording is the session is recorded, so you can always watch it later. You get the slide pack, so you can even see it later. So
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
yes, because I believe somewhere I don't have a sales presentation here. I like to share content so you become actually a better coach or a better person or whatever. And I know that sharing is actually caring and makes us all smarter. But so how good are we actually? Or how good are all those experts? Now I'm going to shock you. McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group and Accenture and all those other kind of high-paid consultants, they have a success rate of less than 40% in all their beautiful culture change projects. McKinsey claims up to 75% if you follow for 100% all their steps and pay all their bills in time, on time. But still 75%, not a 100%. Psychology is average 35% success rate if you cluster it. They did a research over a course of 46 months. 43% who received CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, had improved on their depression. A 50% reduction, so not cured, 50% reduction. 27% of the people who didn't do anything had the same outcome. So why would you pay such a shitload to a psychologist if the success rate is maybe double from doing nothing and then only a 50% reduction? How good are we? Now, life coaching is 25%. So if you're a life coach, sorry, your success rate is not really good. What I mean with success rate is how much is it embedded after 1 year? So it's not after you finish your sessions and send an inquiry out, hey, how good was I? Because then everybody says, oh, you're great. But after 1 year, how much change did happen? Hypnotherapy, 55%. It depends actually what you do. If you do stop smoking, you can get up to 90%. If you work really on depression, anxiety, sexual abuse, the success rate goes lower. And repetition is 80% success if you stick to it 3 months, 30 minutes daily. Only the chance that you do that is only 8%. So repetition, although it's extremely successful, nobody sticks to it. Hence, it is actually extremely unsuccessful because only 8% does it. So it has a success rate of actually 6.4%. So repetition, what we say to our clients, exercise it and all this kind of stuff, is actually setting them up for almost for failure. 6.4% of success rate. By the way, if you didn't know it, I had an open heart surgery because I had the same issue as my dad, a heart valve that was a little bit malfunctioning. And my surgeon said something amazing. The success rate of the surgery is 99%. And when you look at these statistics, then it's almost shocking, for me at least. Well, wow. My surgeon does it much better because if you would go to the surgery and you would say you have the same success rate as the psychologist, most people would not choose that surgeon. If my surgeon would have said, "No, I have a 1 out of 3 success rate of that the operation goes good," probably I would have chosen another one. So, how good are we actually? I did not put our coaching in. Our coaching is something like 40 to 50%. And of course, all clustered together, because in different kind of coaching, you can have different kind of success rates, just like hypnotherapy and all this kind of other stuff. So you could say, if you would follow Einstein, doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result, is the law of insanity. So why don't we learn in all those things to do it differently? Now, then there are some, of course, beautiful theories why we don't learn that. Because one of them, of course, that all those things have then to be changed. And the whole school curriculum of universities and all the kind of other things has to be changed. Now, and I don't know if you think about change, but changing a professor at the university is even harder than your average client. Because they think they know. So if you think about your 3 brains, why are they really there? Now, this is what we spoke about, neocortex, limbic brain, reptilian brain. This is how they called in the old days the triune brain, that you have 3 brains inside your head. I don't hope you still believe that, because also that is totally debunked. Because even a reptile has in his DNA the same setup as we have. So theoretically, if epigenetics would do a great job, you can have smart reptilians with a big head. And luckily, epigenetics doesn't work like that. Otherwise, Jurassic Park would exist. So if that's not true, we don't have a reptilian brain in our head. We don't have an emotional brain in our head based on evolution. And we don't have a neocortex or human brain based on evolution. And that actually all 3 of them were already there 50 million years ago, 500 million years ago in our head, even maybe as a thin layer. Then how does it actually work? Now, this is the answer. And this is a question I love to ask for people who never saw my presentations to see how their biology works. This is a living creature in the sea. So outside there. This is something resembling how we were 500 million years ago. So the question is, it's still now in the sea. Every snorkeler or diver has seen it at least once. What kind of living creature is this? A lot of times I say in my training, we don't go on to the next slide until you have a good answer. But then I have 4 days of time to wait. I will not do that now. So do a wild guess. Plankton. Now, great. Renee, it's actually plankton is a little bit more simple because that's a one-cell organism. This is a multi-cell organism. For the people who do sometimes shopping and love vegetables, in your fridge you could find a green thing, but almost has the same shape and has almost the same name, except the C. So this is for the people who love a language, James. A sea cucumber. Tara, okay, you're doing an amazing job. Sea cucumber. This is sea cucumber. Why is it so important and why do I spend so much time on it? Because what is the sea cucumber not having? What does it not have that we have?
Brain.
And then you find your answer about the three brains almost. What does it not have?
The brain.
The brain.
It doesn't have a brain. It doesn't have a head. You're so right, Michelle. What it also is missing is a heart. It does not have a blood flow in the way as we have it, so it does not have a heart. So just imagine more than 50% of the living creatures on this earth have somewhere a resemblance of this, at least if you go to the sea. They don't need a head or a heart. It's actually a living God. So if you now think logically, without all the science and all the other things, then what is the most important thing in our body? As a human being, your head, your heart, or your gut?
The three.
Yeah, all three, yes. But I can tell you, your gut is the most important because we came from this. Put 2 arms, 2 legs on it, and you almost have a politician. Put a head on it, and you get maybe a smartass. So we all came actually from this system. We all came from, say, because if you think about it, what can we not have? Where can we not live without? Air. We need something to give us energy, and we cannot live without food, hence liquids. We
It's
need
also,
energy to come in.
the gut also brings the protects us. There's the survival instinct.
Yeah. And if you think about it, and we come back to it also later, where is actually, according to science is totally agreeing with it, where's your immune system located, mainly? And now if you think about gut bacteria, it's in your gut. So your immune system is in your gut. So if your head is the most important, why is your head not in charge of that? If your heart is the most important, why is your heart not in charge of that? Because we all came from this. And if you now move forward, neurobiologist Michael Gershon in the book The Second Brain, what was released in '98, where he describes actually that underneath your abdomen or in a diaphragm, it's a total neural network or a brain there. It has 500 million brain cells or neurons. It communicates there internally and makes internal decisions. And it is the warehouse of almost all the neurotransmitters we found in the body. Serotonin for 90% is found in the gut system. GABA, that controls stress, anxiety, fear. Cortisol, energy. Dopamine, reward and joy. Epiperiferine, something like adrenaline, gives you energy, action. Neuroperiferine, also neuroadrenaline, gives you also energy and action. Benzodiazepines is actually the same as Valium and Xanax. Testosterone and also estrogen, because otherwise we would not reproduce. It has all the neurotransmitters except one. That is in the heart. I will come back to it later. And that right away gives you a lot of explanations how we work. And it shows we can learn independently. So what I'm going to show you now, and I think the sound is on, so it's good. I show you a 1-minute video of Michael Gershon, where he actually describes how in an intestine of a guinea pig, they put a little pellet in and it moves. And when the intrinsic circuit, so the brain cells are removed, it doesn't do anything. Just to show you that the gut brain can do something amazing. It can make independent decisions. Are you ready? There it is.
Now you notice this is a guinea pig intestine and there's nothing there. The brain and the gut and the guinea pig are in the garbage, and the bowel has detected that pellet and it's moving it along. And that is the law of the intestine, the peristaltic reflex, oral contraction, anal relaxation is propelling. And if you take the intrinsic circuitry out and put the pellet in, nothing happens. The muscle twitches a little, but it doesn't move. So that was a coordinated neural reflex, and it works on itself. And this
We don't go in right away all the signs of it, but what does it show? Your intestine can detect something, it can make a decision on the detection, and it can make an action on the detection. And the only organ in your body that can do that is your intestine. No other organ, your heart, your head, or something else can do that actually. And that's freaking amazing with it. So your gut brain can act and make decisions independently. I don't go in all the science there, but if you think about the knee jerk reaction, and you hit a knee and the leg goes up, that is because we have two nerve cells actually for up to a muscle. When you would look into the intestinal area, you find 3 different kind of extra brain cells there that make decisions independently. So theoretically, and we're not going to test that, you can break your spine, cut the central nervous system in your spine, and your intestines will still work. Then you can be brain dead and still consume food. You cannot be gut brain dead and your head is still functioning. Unless you're Sheldon from Big Bang, but for the rest, it cannot happen. So that's the gut brain. Let's now go to the second brain, the heart. Neurocardiologist Armour, also in the 90s, introduced the concept of a functional heart brain. It meets all the criteria for a brain, neurons, neurotransmitters, proteins, support cells, etc. Only it's much smaller than the gut. It can make independent decisions. It has something between, on average, 100,000 brain cells, so it's really small, but it only has really one main function to activate us. And produces, there is it, oxytocin. Oxytocin is the only neurotransmitter the gut does not produce. What does oxytocin do? You see it, the love hormone, the cuddle hormone. That's the hormone that is on neurotransmitter that's released when we are connecting with people. That's the neurotransmitter that's released when mothers give birth to a baby. That's what's being released when we fall in love. That is actually the connection neurotransmitter. And that's released also by the heart. Also in the head, but also by the heart. I'm going to show you a little video. This is Armour, 2-minute video about actually your heart brain. So enjoy. Now the answer is actually yes. Let me go further with that. If you ever heard of these guys, heart math, then you'll find much more about the whole heart brain. And they are totally specialized in the heart brain. So, and if you don't believe in that the heart brain has memory, it's a beautiful thing. Prof. Gary Smarts, he researched more than 300 patients who underwent transplantation surgery, so they have a new heart. And all of them had significant psychological changes or taste, like, feelings, emotions, and other kind of stuff. So how can it happen if the heart does not have a memory? The other amazing thing, that's the most amazing thing of studies. There was an 8-year-old who received a heart transplant. She became having vivid nightmares about a murder. So they went to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist actually said they're real. So they thought, if they're real, we have to do something. They went into the law enforcement. The police came aware that the 10-year-old who was murdered was actually the donor. Based on all the vivid nightmares the little person had, they could find actually and solve the cold case and find the murderer. Now, this is the most blown out case of heart memory but also totally documented by psychologists, psychiatrists, and police. So it must be true. And of course, not everybody who has a heart transplant has this, I would say, horrible nightmares, but change always happens. So if we would collect all of those, the gut brain, we spoke about it, the heart brain, the head brain. So the gut brain communicates with all its neurotransmitters. Also with the nerve cells we have, of course, because it has connection with the central nervous system, or actually with the ventral vagal nerve we spoke about also. But this is actually much more profound, say, in our actions and emotions. We say these are the emotions we feel. How we lift our hand and move this is not an emotion-based thing. It's actually a little sign that there's the fact that Tara now takes also a sip of water is not because her head says she's thirsty, but because her body says she's thirsty. And most of us will become aware that they take a sip of the water like they do, just like I have my bottle here, without actually thinking of it. They're not aware that they drink. It is an autonomic movement. The heart brain has a little bit less neurotransmitters, but it has two things the gut brain doesn't have. Biophysical communication. That means the boom, 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 boom. Yeah? The pressure that sends out and goes through all the veins actually has a communication pathway. And the electromagnetic energy. Yeah? Your heart produces 5,000 times stronger energy than your head does. The energy of the heart can be measured up to 9 meters outside your body. And it actually communicates with the whole body. Research shows actually that nuns who were living in a monastery synchronized their period. Now, there's not a logical talk from, hey, Connie, shall we synchronize our period? No, it is your body who connects with each other and starts synchronizing it because it connects more and better. It's freaking amazing how it works. The head brain is freaking amazing because there's two things the gut brain and heart brain don't have. This one is the awareness of time after year 6, and it is actually language. All of those, the heart and the gut, communicate, say, with sensations. A gut feeling, a heart sense. The head can put those senses in words. Oh, I feel a little bit, say, down. I feel a bit pressure there. Oh, my tummy is crunching. I feel butterflies. And so we can put words to it, to the sensations. And when you think about coaching, it is the only part that knows what happened tomorrow and happened yesterday. So there the logical cause and effect can happen. And this is extremely important when you think about limiting beliefs or highly impactful events that we have in our life. Like it was shared about the divorce earlier. Because your heart and gut don't know what happened was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They still live as it is now, like a post-traumatic stress syndrome, where time is not available. The Iraq person who still thinks that he is walking in Iraq 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Your body has the same as all those other kind of memories. Now, what is now the beauty if you would add 3-brain coaching on it? You can release those old memories or coping mechanisms, or you can release those limiting beliefs just by almost quote educating the heart and the gut. It's in the past. Because the moment the heart and gut know it's in the past, like this, they drop right away the coping mechanism because it's not needed anymore. So we can do as coaches amazing work that really has a long-lasting effect. Because we all know we should not do a limiting belief, but we cannot stop it. We all know we should not do a negative coping mechanism, but we still do it. Unless the heart and the gut know it's not needed anymore and it just drops off. One little slide about, say, how they work. The gut brain communicates with sensations of fear, anger, rage, lust, desire, hunger, or disgust. So those are the sensations it's used. I call it not emotions, but sensations, how it communicates inside us to take action. Fear, anger, and rage for protection. Lust and desire to take action. Hunger, to feed the whole system. And disgust, not to put things in your mouth that really would make you sick. Your heart brain has the biggest responsibility of bonding. And I forgot that from your gut brain. Your gut brain is the most egocentric brain you can have. That's the narcissist in the system. Because it only thinks about me, myself, and I. And that's extremely good, eh? Because without thinking about me, myself, and I, we would all be dead. Without putting your own success sometimes forward, you will not succeed. There is no gold medal winner on any Olympics who doesn't have a strong gut brain. There is no CEO who does not have a strong gut brain. There is no prime minister who does not have a big gut brain. To achieve, you need to have a gut brain. But it also means that sometimes you use your elbows to win. Your heart brain is all about bonding and connecting. It likes to connect, it likes to bond. Otherwise, we would throw our baby away when it got born. And it's just screaming 6 times a night. And we don't do it because we love it. How does it communicate with us? Love, compassion, hate, sadness, guilt, shame, values of good and wrong. It gives you all the emotions or sensations to stay connected. Your head brain actually likes to do one thing, is providing the right answer. Cause and effect. Because the more you do a right prediction, the more success you have. And knowing what red, yellow, and green means in a traffic light keeps us alive. When you cross the street, at least in Western countries. In some countries, it doesn't mean anything, I know. You can go to India or to Malaysia and they have a different way of driving, I know. Yeah, but it keeps you alive. And how does it communicate? Words, sounds, images, time, as we said. And it has all the curiosity to learn. That's how we notice them. So, last part, what are the strengths and pitfalls of them? Your gut brain is all about winning and results. It's the achiever. It's the Michael Jordan, the Schwarzenegger, the Rambo, the Usain Bolt of us. Or the Beyoncé or Kate Perry or whomever you like to have. Or now, I lost right away the name of Swiftie, Taylor Swift. It doesn't mean she doesn't have the other ones, but she would not be #1 in the world if she would not have a great gut brain. The pitfall is me first. And so you don't think about the relationships around you. What's their biggest fear is vulnerability. So you will hear a gut brain dominant person never say sorry. Because sorry means I'm wrong. That means you're right. And that means I cannot survive and you can survive. We're not one brain. So we also have the heart brain. And it likes to bond us together. Taylor Swift is an extremely social person. She takes care of her own crew. She takes care of a lot of things. So by balancing it out, she becomes also #1. It means actually you first. What's the biggest fear? Rejection. So people who have a massive heart brain dominance have a chance actually on a burnout. Or actually when you think about the 27-year-old group who died, from James Dean to whomever, Kurt Cobain and everybody in Da Vinci, most of them have a big heart brain, cannot deal with their life anymore and die of an overdose, like the John Belushi and all the kind of other things. Your head brain cause and effect analysis, and just like to think, what did we do? How can we do better? It likes to create a perfect answer. We come back to that later. and it really dislikes mistakes. And I will say, I'll come back to it later, because what does it mean? If you think now about coaching and leadership, McKinsey did the research and said, what are the 4 traits, or actually, what are the traits that we need as a perfect leader? They found 20 of them, but 4 were actually responsible for almost 90% of the effectiveness. And now you become aware why only focusing on the head brain, we get those horrible results as McKinsey and psychologists and all these other people show. Because they say you need to solve problems effectively. What makes sense? As a leader, you have to make decisions. There you need your head brain for. Cause and effect. Give me the Excel sheet. Give me the pros and cons. To execute it, actually, you need a heart brain and a gut brain to make it long-term success. To communicate them or to put a team in there. But the most important thing, what's in purple, is the head brain. It needs that one. And that's what we learn at MBAs, at school. And that's where we focus on. The second thing we see also in MBAs being taught. Strong results orientation. Be the best. Get your A. Win. Push. That's all about gut brain. Did you ever think, I'm living in Holland. In Holland, you have a grading system in school from 1 to 10. But you pass with a 6 and you fail with a 5. So why do you need a 1, 2, 3, 4 or a 7, 8, 9, 10? If a 5 and a 6 is actually sufficient. Why do you need on an MBA an A, a B, a C, a D, and an E? It's only to compare. Who is better, who is worse? Does it make sense to teach an old kid that his neighbor is smarter than him because he has an 8 or she has an 8 and he has a 6? Is that good for his self-esteem? Is it good for the parents who come home and ask, hey, Karen, the jager, I'm just making personal. Did you have your, what's your score of your exam? Oh, mommy, I got an 8. I'm really proud of myself. Oh, great. Did you have the highest score, Karen? No. You know that René is also in my training and Edwina. They had a 9 and a 10. Oh, you were not the best. No, we still love you, Karen. No, it's not so sad that you're not the best. And by the way, Karen can see 2 years later a psychologist because she feels she's not good enough. That doesn't make sense. But that's what we teach in MBAs, what I see when I'm going to the IE business school. Of course, you need the head brain and heart brain to get a long-lasting effect in it, but the most important thing is gut brain, head brain. This is what you see, these two, where we focus on in MBAs and in teaching and in school systems. But you already see, you also need the gut brain. Now, the 2 other ones are almost never taught on schools. Seeking different perspectives, seeing the issue from both sides, actually. So it means listening, empathy, understanding. You need a heart brain for that. And you as coaches, how many times do you listen to a story of a coachee of one of your clients that you heard before? But you still have to be on that moment for your specific client, enthusiastic, listening, probing questions, powerful questions, where you think, actually, I heard this story 30 times, I can give you right away the answer. But it's not allowed as a coach, so we let them talk for 1 hour, have beautiful, powerful questions to get the client there. For that, you need a heart brain. A gut brain person would say, Edwina, I heard your story 30 times from different people. Just do A, B, and C. This was 5 minutes done. Get out of my room again. That's a gut brain answer. That doesn't happen. So as heart brains will ask, hey, Edwina, that's hard, interesting. How does it really work for you? What is blocking you to move forward? What kind of resources would you need for that? So we ask to help them. You need a heart brain for that. Of course, you need a head brain and gut brain for the long-term effect, because we need all 3 of them, but the most important is the heart brain. Last but not least, the 4th critical trait or trait you need is supporting others. So which brain would you think is really in charge of supporting others? Your head, your heart, or your gut? I know this is the obvious question. If you say your gut, then really you did not learn anything today. Kidding. Absolutely, Karen, it's the heart. Again, the heart brain is there. really feeling and understanding what they need to excel. What we call sometimes empathy, compassion, listening skills. And of course, need the head and gut for long time results and don't fall into the rescue or victim mode. But if you look at this, and if you think about coaching your clients, only powerful questions will not help you because only powerful questions go to the head. But you cannot question somebody enough to create grit, focus, or discipline. You cannot ask so many questions that people start seeing it from both sides. You cannot ask so many powerful questions that people start really feeling and understanding what somebody else needs. I still remember I was coaching an VP executive, blah, 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 who was getting a new job. And I said, the most important thing, he said, the most important thing, Chris, is actually to go around my 10 direct reports and the 30 people who are indirect reports in the first months to get their understanding. What are they doing? What is their importance for them? What is their life? You understood it. What do you think that happened after 1 month? How many people did he really talk to and listen to? 5. Because he was too busy with making strategic plans and already stepping into action. He did not speak with the 25 other people what their needs were. What do you think that happened? I had a beautiful coaching assignment. Of course, the next half year I should coach him on getting him aligned with the team. It was good for me, for my salary, but it was actually a big shame. Because in the first coaching session, we actually agreed what the solution was. After coaching session 6, when he finally did it, his success rate started to hit on. And I still remember he questioned me, Chris, why didn't you say that earlier to me? And I said, do you like to see the recording of the first session and my notes? And he said, why? I said, because you said it by yourself that will be your action. And he said, I cannot believe that. I said, do you dare to bet an extremely dinner on that with me? Do you know how stupid he was? He said, yes. It cost him a 2 Michelin star dinner with me. And I can tell you the price was really freaking amazing. It was amazing food. After that, he said, Chris, I think I'm going to listen to you more. That's okay. It's not about me, but this is what happens. Now, last but not least, because we have 10 minutes left and I'd like to give you some answers. What happens if you only have one dominant brain? If your head brain is extremely dominant, you will fall back in perfectionism, OCD, anxiety, insomnia, migraines, and headaches. That's what you can see happening with people. Because this one is trying to find all the answers, and it will not find them. What will happen tomorrow in my presentation? You cannot give the answer. Why did my ex leave me and cheated on me with a firefighter? I thought that's real life happening for me, happened to me 12 years ago. Up to now, I still don't have an answer. I stopped actually thinking about it a long time ago because I just get a headache from it. If you have too much heart, overwhelm, burnout, depression, chronic diseases, hence government, fear, failure, poor time management, boundary settings. I need to succeed too much, your gut brain, fear, failure, anxiety, anger, control-driven, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, resistant to change. Tomorrow, Karen, when we do the other presentation, you will find also an update on this, what it means for us coaches. Karen is so smart to see both webinars. Or she's just so curious to say, okay, this is great. So this is what happens. What blocks for change? The head brain likes to have a right prediction. The heart brain likes to belong. The gut brain says, personal success, me first. And there are 3 different objectives. So when we start back, say to your friends, follow your heart, follow your gut, think it through. You say in follow your gut, just do what's good for you. Follow your heart, do what is good for them. Follow your head, make an Excel sheet in what is right and wrong. So a decision made by one brain and not 3 brains will result in reflectively loyal to your biology. What does your biology say? Me first, they first, make a prediction. Your first 7 years, as we said earlier, will come back and haunt you back, because that's actually where we learned all the things, and result is pain or failure in a lot of cases. Every coachee I had up to now, all the things we coached them on were or their dominant brain was too dominant and they got stuck, or their least active brain, what I call sometimes a silent brain, created an issue because somewhere it would block the change later on. The solution, it is too easy to be true, of course, connect and listen to your old brains. Of course, this is the what, it doesn't mean the how. How can you do it? Mindfulness, breathing exercises, body scan, 3 brains, curiosity, compassion, and trust state. That's somewhere a combination of all 3 of them. This helps you to connect with your own body again. And when you connect with your body, you can become aware of the sensations. When you become aware of the sensations, you can do better interpretation. Letting go of the old coping mechanisms we learned. So don't please your parents anymore. We're now adults. Don't worry about your boyfriend or girlfriend when you were 20 said, I don't like you because you're just whatevers. Change the limiting beliefs that are limiting you. I'm not good enough. I have to succeed. People will find out that I'm not good. I cannot cry. I have to be strong. I have to say yeah to everybody. I have to please everybody and all those kind of CRAP beliefs. And let go of highly impactful events that affect you. You can also call trauma, but sometimes it's also your upbringing. And when you have 2 parents who love you dearly, but actually don't like to only let you read books or only let you play outside, or say, you know, we were not so smart, you will also need to be so smart. You're born for a penny, you will never get a quarter. They still do this all the love, but it can create really an imposter syndrome in you. And of course, the best solution is to follow my training. But of course, if I would not say that, I would be the baker who says, don't buy my bread. And it doesn't make sense. Why it's freaking amazing? Because you learn all the tools what we just described before. A gift for you, if you ever like to follow it. And I said, you get the things, you just scan this, you get a 200 euros total discount if you follow it. You get also 40 CCEUs. So if you're an ICF member, you right away have enough CCEUs to renew your accreditation. That's also nice. You use this code and I say, I'll send you the slides so you have it also later on. If you like, if the cheapest solution, you just buy my book, that's only 10 euros on Kindle. And you learn a lot, only not all the tools or the techniques, but you learn much more. And most important thing, then I can stop. Questions that you have for the last 5-10 minutes. If you don't have any questions, it means I did an amazing job, or I just blow your head so full with information that you actually cannot think anymore.
Might be.
Might be, yes. I know, Renee. When I do a webinar, I like to deliver content. I don't like to make it a small, salesy, American kind approach of presentation. So I know I put a lot of content in there so that you really have something like is there. Benedict.
Yes, thank you. So it was a lot of content, and it was my 3rd ICF workshop today. So
oh, okay.
It was a long day, a long and informative day, but yeah, it's good. So my question, where I kind of like to, what I like to connect for myself. So my philosophy and how I coach and how I do leadership development and just way of life really for me is to be kind, present, and open. And in the past, I kind of connected that to the mind, spirit, and body as well, right? Like being kind is a spirit, is our feelings. Being present is like, hey, what's going on in my body and with others? And being open is bodily putting stuff into action, like putting actions into the world. How, if at all, would that connect with your three brains?
If I'm totally Dutch blunt, so excuse me, then I say, okay, your heart is in charge, your head brain follows, and your gut brain is out of the picture. And why is it, so your heart brain, I said your heart brain is in charge because you're, say, connecting.
Yeah.
People. Nice, you're there for them. Your openness means actually your heart is open for connection and for information getting there. Your head brain is there to really connect with people and ask the questions and to make the actions, as you said. But for real actions, you need a gut brain. And it means actually not always be kind. You know what I hear? So what I mean with not kind is daring to be confrontative, to say no. And
yeah, so sorry to interrupt at this point. Kindness starts with kindness to yourself, and that's also at this point you have to say no to others sometimes and put on your own oxygen mask first. So they all those three are on two levels. Like first and foremost to yourself, like be kind to yourself, know yourself, and be open to improving yourself. But then also to others, meeting them where they are, seeking to understand where they're coming from, giving them a benefit of a doubt, as long as it's not exploited, right? And then also equipping them with ability to put action into practice. So it's, yeah.
Then your gut brain is also in there when you say, I say yes to myself and no to others, because it sets your own boundaries. So that's a gut brain action. So that's good. But I mean, in coaching, and but we have to go deeper in that, is how much, say, in my words, do you dare to confront? And say no also when the client says something. Yeah? Because the pitfall of the heart brain is pleasing. They don't dare to confront because it could damage the relationship. A good executive coach doesn't care about that. And what I mean, executive coach who coaches the C-suite, because the C-suite is not sweet.
Yeah.
You write it different, but they're not. So they don't always like a question. I'm an MCC coach, but most of my executives say, Chris, don't do like the previous coach, only asking questions because you're out before your coffee is finished. And I said, which question do you like to ask me how a coach actually, instead of having the statement they had? And they go, oh, wow. Oh, yes, that's what I need. And that's against all the coaching rules. If you do that in a recording for your ACC, PCC, or MCC, it will right away get a big scratch. So you need your gut brain actually to set your boundaries in your coaching. A great coach is not only asking questions. There's a gut brain also actually in there. So that's what I mean with gut brain. And I don't know because now it goes a little bit deep. But what you say actually in your first analysis, all three are there.
Okay.
Sorry, can I
Please, of course, Michelle. I was missing you already. I didn't see you. Maybe she's gone.
No, I was here. I missed a part of the question of Benedict where you were trying to explain like how with C-suite we need to use more than powerful questions.
So in the C-suite, so really say the top, it's not only about powerful questions. We as coaches learn powerful questions, and in every recording you do for ACC, PCC, or MCC, they have to be in. It's not allowed to have any statement, any advice or something else. But in real life coaching, it's needed. And for that, you need a gut brain. You need to have the guts, as they would say, to confront your client, to say no to your client, to set a boundary to your client. Even
when you say boundaries, is it like intruding or calling them on their bullshit or calling them out when they're not taking action, or
Absolutely.
like you say you want to get to this goal, but clients are not doing anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was actually mentoring, and it became a Dutch mentoring, I would say. An MCC coach, a lovely, amazing lady, but had an issue with her client because the client was not following up the actions. And I said, how many sessions did you have with the client? Already 9. I said, and you see every time the client and you just accept it? Yes. I said, okay, let's go back. I said that you're an MCC, you should actually give your MCC badge back. It is too crazy to be true that your client says, oh, I didn't do any actions of my own action list. Then actually you have to stop almost the coaching and say, hey, what's happening here?
We should be willing to lose our clients, but actually really want our client to grow. And if we see them staying stuck, they're coming to us to move forward. So really calling them out on that.
And of course, if you can ask
here's courage.
Of course, you can ask the question, what happened? What do you need to make it happen? And because the client does not do it on purpose. And when you look at this presentation, probably his or her gut brain or heart brain said no. The silent brain said somewhere no in the action. So it makes sense to become aware. What's the reason you didn't do it? What is blocking you to make it happen? What kind of resources do you need? Because, by the way, it's not acceptable for your own growth that this happens again and again. It means in our coaching session, actually, we should step now. What's happening here? So actually, almost change the agenda for that session. Because if the client keeps on doing that, there will not be growth. And that's where you actually need your gut brain for, to dare to say that. Because in that moment, you put your relationship a little bit on risk. Because you say to a client, actually, no. But the beauty is, most, and then we come to the C-suite clients, love that. Because that's why they pay you a shitload of money to hear sometimes no. Because nobody dares to say no to them. So that's a gut-brain approach in there. Like, and you know, it's the beauty, and I said tomorrow, Karen, you will hear much more about it. Yeah. Our brains, and that is also based on brain plasticity, are not always the same. They can grow, they can change. So you can train your heart brain, head brain, gut brain to do so. Yeah, when you saw the slide, the heart brain has 40,000 to 120,000 brain cells. That is based on post-mortem research that some brains in the heart are bigger or smaller. Small heart brains, persons had an egocentric life without a lot of friends, focused on themselves. 120,000 brain cells, people had a social life, were connected with each other, and were working actually in a more social environment. So it proved already you can change that. Now, this one we know you have plasticity in there, you can change that there, look at all the things. The gut brain too. Because your gut brain is connected with your gut bacteria. I will not go there in now, because then we need another 2-3 hours. But they are connected with each other. And they are in charge, and you can train that. Because if you think when you were born, which brain was the most dominant when you were born? Gut brain. Because did you care that you cried at 2 o'clock in the morning for your mommy because you wanted the breast? At 3 o'clock because you wanted a clean diaper? At 4 o'clock because you were not happy with yourself? At 5 o'clock because your tooth were going through? You didn't care. And us parents came out of our bed with our sleepy eyes, cuddled our kid, and were wishing that he just would sleep. And of course, your heart brain was there, because what do those beautiful kids in the morning? When as parents you think, where's the pillow I can put on his head or her head? My thoughts were that, I have to say. And then you see your little one smiling at you with his big smile and say, hey, daddy, daddy, daddy. And you melt away, totally depleted from sleep. You cuddle the little one and you go on again. The heart brain is the second one. But your head brain is not there. So we all have the capacity to be much more gut brain, be much more heart brain, or to be much more head brain, as we learned at school. We can train it. That's the beauty of all of it. So for the people who don't know, I have another webinar, the top 5 picks of 3 brain coaching. I don't, the sentence is not perfect. It will be tomorrow, but tomorrow is full, and this will be also on Thursday and Friday out of my top of my head. You don't have to be there, but if you like to be there, be there. It will be freaking amazing. We go on where we actually left here. So I don't go into the science and about whatever it has, and just go, what does it mean for us coaches? What could we do? And as I said, I will send you the PDF slide pack of it. And if you like to have the recording, just send me an email. I'm not going to put the recording on ICF, but I'm just going to send an email to everybody. Do you like to see the recording? Because I'm being really Dutch. I don't give people something they don't ask for. And one of my educational things is, don't encourage not liked behavior. You don't compliment not liked behavior. So people were not here, they did not send me an email, so why should I send them the recording? So if you like this recording, you send me an email. I love to share, but at least I know you're then interested in it. Life is so simple if you're with me. Thank you so much for your questions, your attention, to being here. We have a small group, probably because I changed the timing. That is amazing, because then at least you get personal attention. If you have any questions after today, and you think, oh shit, I'd like to have this answer, thank you for shit, then just send me an email. I always answer. It doesn't mean I answer quick, but I always answer. Because there's one golden rule for me. You are the most important people in this world in your job. Why is that? You influence so many people to make their lives better. If you do a better job, those people will become better people. If those people become better people, we will get other politicians and other CEOs, and my grandkids will have a better life in this world. That's an egocentric thought, but also your grandkids will have a better life. Just imagine that those prime ministers we don't like will never exist anymore. How would life be? You're the most important persons to achieve that, so I'm always willing to help you. Thank you so much for your time. See you tomorrow, Karen, and for everybody else, maybe see you also later today. Thank you. Building next generations, yes, that's it.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Ciao, Benedict. For 3 sessions being here, yes.